Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has denied lying to the Queen over the prorogation of Parliament. His rejection of the claim comes a day after the highest civil court in Scotland ruled the 5-week shutdown is unlawful. The government is launching an appeal which will be heard in the UK Supreme Court on Tuesday.
Did you lie to the Queen when you advised her to prorogue, to suspend Parliament?
Absolutely not. And indeed, as I say, the High Court in England plainly agrees with us, but the Supreme Court will have to decide. We need a Queen's speech. We need to get on and do all sorts of things.
Lawmakers are demanding Parliament be recalled immediately so that Brexit concerns can be addressed. The government was forced to publish Operation Yellowhammer, which warns that a no-deal scenario could lead to civil unrest as well as shortages of food and medicine.
The Yellowhammer documents are a worst-case scenario. They're produced so that government can take plans and take steps in order to mitigate any of those consequences. And over the course of the last 6 weeks, this government has taken considerable steps in order to ensure that if there is a no-deal scenario, that we can leave in the safest and smoothest possible way.
I'm sceptical that some of the statements that have been made to Parliament match what is actually in the report or cover it effectively. That's why we're so angry that Parliament was prorogued, because I should be in Parliament at the moment with the ability to interrogate the Prime Minister and ministers. Now we're prorogued, we can't do that.
The Prime Minister believes a Brexit deal can still be secured at next month's EU summit, but Europe says the Northern Ireland backstop must be part of the agreement, because so far the UK hasn't offered any credible alternatives.
Non ci sarà un accordo senza il backstop. Che sia molto chiaro. Questo lo pensa la Commissione, lo pensano le istituzioni europee ed è la posizione del Parlamento, che ricordo a tutti avrà l'ultima parola.
Regarding the talks, we are still ready to examine objectively any concrete and legally operational proposal from the UK.
At least 50 people were killed when a train derailed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Steve Bakai, broke the news on Twitter, saying the incident happened at 3 a.m. in Tanganyika. Offering the government's condolences, he said a meeting was being held to help the families who've been affected. The body of Robert Mugabe is now lying in state. Zimbabwe's former president died in Singapore last week at the age of 95. His body will remain at the Harare Sports Stadium until his funeral on Saturday. His family is still fighting a government plan to bury him at the National Heroes Acre Monument, saying they want his final resting place to be in his home village. The family of an Australian woman detained in Iran say they hope she'll be freed soon. Jolie King and her boyfriend Mark Firkin, who have dual British nationality, were arrested 10 weeks ago for allegedly flying a drone without a licence. They've been posting videos of their travels through Asia and the Middle East, which includes drone footage.
So the glacier, which we visited earlier, is up this valley here.
They plan to drive through 36 countries to reach the UK. There are reports the pair is being held as part of a plan to facilitate a prisoner swap with Australia. Jordan has joined the chorus of voices criticising an Israeli plan to annex a third of the occupied West Bank. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised to apply Israeli sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and Northern Dead Sea if he's returned to office for a record 5th term. Jordan says the move would be catastrophic and would hurt the peace process.
I expressed extreme alarm to His Excellency about the devastating consequences of this decision. The world has to act and act effectively and act quickly to prevent this decision from being implemented, because that will push the whole area again into the abyss of despair and hopelessness, and will obviously destroy all the hard work that all of us have been doing over decades to bring about a resolution to this conflict on the basis of the two-state solution.
This would be a violation of international law, and if you violate the international law, there are consequences. That's, I think, the message we have to give.
And finally, some food for thought. A village in the Philippines is giving people an incentive to clean up the community, exchanging a kilogram of rice for every 2 kilos of plastic waste. So far, the scheme appears to be working, with more than 200 kilograms of rubbish being collected during the month of August. It's then taken away for proper disposal and recycling. And that's your international news around the world in 5.